Are you looking at me? Me? Hi friends, it's Bandits. I may have been gone from this space for the past 5 years, but I've still been active in cosplay, and I wanted to bring you along for my present project. Right now, I'm working on a cosplay of Ocarina of Time Zelda. This is a costume that I made back in my infancy of cosplay, and at this point, almost 10 years later, I've decided that I want to give her another go. She deserves it because I love her that much. So what have I been up to in the past 5 years since the last video I put out on here? Well, I have still been active on other platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and really active on TikTok. I really haven't been able to motivate myself to do long form videos like this. However, watching creators like Sarah Spaceman and my friend Annie Chi Design make long form videos centering around cosplay has really inspired me to try and do the same. So I am here to make that happen for myself. So back to the project at hand. We have Ocarina of Time Zelda. I think Ocarina of Time is my favorite iteration of Zelda's design. I just find it classic. Maybe it's because it's the Zelda that I grew up on, but she holds a very dear place in my heart. I have been working on this cosplay now, I realize, for 2 years. I went back through my social medias to try and find the first time I had made any mention about this cosplay to kind of date when I sort of first officially started it. And what I could find was an Instagram post kind of announcing it as a project. And that was in January, 2 years ago. And at that time, I would have only been about 4 months postpartum from my first baby. Yeah, I can see why it's taken me this long to get around to it. Conversely, I'm a full 8 months postpartum this time around at the time of filming this video, so I'm sure I'm not going to run into any more issues. So at the time of the announcement, what I managed to do was the majority of the outer dress. I hadn't completed it all the way, but I had begun the greater parts of it. Unfortunately, that means I had to come back to this project incomplete that I had started 2 years ago, and so my skills had developed slightly since then, and try and finish something that I no longer understood the rationale behind the way I did things. It's kind of like restarting a video game after having set it down for 1.5 years. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the dress actually on the mannequin and give us an update as to where we are and what we have left to do. I really feel like Keldar makes that look a whole lot easier than it actually is to dress a mannequin. The first thing I started with was a petticoat. That's a bought petticoat that I've had in my wardrobe for a very long time. However, I am making my own petticoat to go with this costume. It's just not done yet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop you guys right into some of the work in progress videos and get you up to speed with what I've been doing. I've been working hard away at making this single fold bias tape that's fairly narrow. I've been putting off doing the second tier on my skirt hem, but I feel at this point I just want to get it off my to-do list. But my hesitation has been, I'm worried about getting puckering between the two layers. Once I start putting tension on the upper part of this skirt, I'm worried that between the two tiers of bias tape, there's going to be puckering in between them. I know if I work slowly and do it diligently, I will have a reduced chance of having that issue. I am just apprehensive of the task. So I've actually been throwing this back and forth between my computer desk and my sewing desk for several days now. And I think at this point tonight, it's finally going to be the night that I just sit down and do it. Okay, so last night I did start attaching the second row of trim to the hem of my skirt. And I did run into the problem that I was worried about, which was once I started attaching the second row of trim, there was some bunching between the two tiers. So I ended up going back and I just picked the whole thing out and I tried to kind of reevaluate how I wanted to approach this. What I ended up coming up with, which seems to be doing the trick so far, is you can see I have gone around and I've zigzag stitched through the center of the trim on the widest setting possible. And then what I'm going to do after is go back in with a straight stitch and stitch along the edges there to get that cleaner look. And then I'll go back through and I'll pull out all of the stitching for the zigzag stitch. That seems to be working so far. I'm liking how it's looking. I will press it with some spray starch once the whole thing is done, and I think that's going to just bring it perfect. I have been working the last little while on the little blouse that goes on top of the overdress. I drafted it myself. I'll try and show you a little video of what the drafting process looked like, but what I have here is along the top line, I added a little bit of elastic to do the gathering. I didn't want to go with straight gathering because that is stiff and doesn't have any flexibility, whereas this elastic will allow it to go over the bust area and move with my body. And also I think that that's just a super cute finish. On the back side of the dress, I have went in at the center back and I added just 3 rows of shearing. What I wanted to do is I wanted to have something that kind of like cinched in the blouse. So I think the shearing was a really good choice there. You can see this being the center back, that is the point. Unfortunately, I find it just a little bit floppy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in now and add in just like inverted triangle piece of interfacing and iron that on the inside, and I think it's just going to give the little bit of rigidity that it needs. So next time that you see this blouse, it's actually going to be completely sewn up and finished, and I'm going to try it on the dress. So we will see that in a moment. Okay, so here we have a look at the bodice with the interfacing put in the back point, and I think you can already tell that it makes it a lot more structured looking and just helps define that V at the bottom, and I'm very happy with the look. Bringing you around to the front of the bodice now, I just wanted to highlight these little magnet placards that I've sewn into the bodice, and I'm going to be sewing into the lining of the dress as well, and that's just going to be my quick attach method for getting this on and off. I wanted to create some foundational undergarments, so the next thing I did was make a mock-up of these bloomers, which I'm really glad I did because I wanted to incorporate this lace, but then after doing the mock-up I decided that was really not the place for it. Hello friends! Time for another check-in with my face. It's been a couple weeks since the last time I actually worked on the costume, so I'm working on the petticoat. I've never really made a petticoat before, so this is a bit of a new experience for me. So I will show you what I have now. I made another circle skirt out of this printed tulle that I think is super pretty and will go really cute underneath the Zelda dress. So it's a full circle skirt, and I have a 14-inch wide strip of the same hemmed fabric, which I am gathering down, and presently I am just pinning at a 14-inch line along the perimeter of the skirt. Once it's done, I'm going to sew the band, the gathered band along here, and hopefully have something that's going to give me a little bit of volume, and it's going to help kick out the small train that I have on the dress. So I'm going to keep doing that. I'll probably catch back up with you when I'm actually sewing it onto the machine. Nigh impossible for me to get far enough away to get this whole thing in, but it's so stinking cute. I'm in love. I think it's delightful. Turned out really good. I am still considering putting a horsehair in the hem of the underskirt to give it, again, just a little bit more body, but for now I'm going to say it's done, aside from the fact that the attachments I put on are not holding. So I'm going to be taking those snaps out, and I'm going to be replacing them with a better closure system. But in the meantime, I'm just going to swirl my way. So I think for now this is actually where I'm going to leave this video on this particular progress log. I actually really think that doing this video series is helping to motivate me along and actually propel my progress forward. So I'm very excited about that. And I'd like to get this video finished, edited, and put out into the world before I'm attending my first convention of 2025, which is CSC FanCon in Mississauga. I will be making my return to the stage in a small way at CSC, where I'm going to be presenting my Keyleth costume. So right now what my focus on is doing the necessary updates for me to feel comfortable and confident wearing that costume on a stage. That's what I'm focusing on in the moment. So Zelda's going to take a little sit down for a little bit while I finished Keyleth, and then I'm hoping to actually vlog at that event, so I might see you in that video. For right now, Zelda is at a point where I'm quite pleased where I am with my progress. The dress is done, the underskirt is done, and the bodice is done. My next steps are the armor and the tabard. I'm both anxious and very excited for those pieces. So I would like to thank you all for coming and spending your time with me while I work on this project, and also while I work my way through reintroducing myself to the YouTube platform and video editing and content making of this nature. I've really enjoyed the process. I hope you've kind of liked the video. If you have any comments or suggestions, I would love to hear them down in the comments. And I look forward to the next part in this worklog series. Thank you so much for being around, and I'll see you guys on the con floor. Bye!